All right. Hey, welcome to Summit Talk. My name is Ethan Collins, and I'm the founder and the beginning of Summit Talk, I guess. The hope in this first podcast here is really just to kind of pour the foundation and just kind of cement, just some groundwork for what this, Summit Talk can become. All right. So, I want to paint a picture for you. First, we're going to look at, a mountain, right? If you imagine a mountain, there's kind of three main points that you see when you look at a mountain. There's base camp, that's at the bottom. Before you even begin to really hike the mountain, there's base camp. There's the beginning of the hike. It's a trailhead. There's not a whole lot there. It's usually just a bunch of woods and trees. But so there's base camp at the beginning. The second point, that's going to be the summit or the peak, the top of the mountain. That's the top, right? And now the point that we're going to talk about, the main point you're going to hear us talking about is going to be the hike. That's the climb. So we've got the base camp, we've got the summit, the peak of the mountain, and we have the hike. In your life, the base camp of your life, that's going to be when your head hits the pillow, when no one sees you, when you're asleep, the person that you are, that nobody sees. Nobody really is looking for you at base camp. No one pays attention to you there. The person that you are in the shower when you're alone in your thoughts, that's base camp. The next spot, that's summit. That's the peak. That's when you are crushing it at work, when you've hit the home run in whatever sport that you participate in. If you rip a killer guitar solo, if that's what you do, the summit is when you're at your peak. That's when you're doing your best. Top of the mountain. That's when everybody sees you. Everybody pays attention. The Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson moment when you win in wrestling or WWE. The summit, that's the top. That's what we're all aiming for, right? The hike. That's what Summit Talk is about, though. The climb. The climb up the mountain to achieve that success, to achieve that top of the mountain. Everybody wants to be at the top. We're at whatever field you're in, wherever you are in life right now. You want to be at the top, don't you? You're not alone. I think we're all there. We all want to be there at the top. But it takes work, right? You don't get to the top without doing the work of the hike. And that's what this podcast is really about. The hard work that it takes to get to the top. If you've read Stephen Covey's Habits of Highly Effective People, the hike is zone 2 stuff. Like, this is zone 2 thinking. It's important. It's hard. You don't want to do it. You want to be able to have the summit without the hike. So that's what this podcast is about. We're talking about the hike a whole lot. What kind of sparked the idea for Summit Talk was a company that I worked for a long time. I had interviewed for so many different promotions, 18 to be specific, 18 different promotions. I'd interviewed for all of them over the course of 5 years. And it's not just that I heard the word no. It's that every single one said, "Ethan, we think you'd be a great fit in this role, but we're going to go a different direction." Some of them told me that in person. Some of them sent me that in a text. Some of them over email. And what I figured out after a long time, just ripping my heart out and really trying to get this promotion and changing something about myself. Maybe there's something wrong with me here. Maybe I need to fix this here. Maybe I'm just not giving enough to the company, so I'll work more. Maybe I need to try harder to get good at delivering feedback well, and maybe I need to read this book. Anyways, what I figured out eventually is that there was a discrepancy between who I thought that I was and the person that they saw. When you look at yourself in the mirror, you see a version of you that only you understand. And the people in your life, your bosses, your coworkers, your friends, your family, your spouse, your kids, they don't see the same version of you that you see in the mirror. They don't see your intentions. And so what I figured out in my life is that there was a huge discrepancy between who I thought I was and who I was. What I figured out really quickly is I didn't have it all figured out. Hearing no 18 times makes you think, what's wrong with me? That I'm not good enough. for any of these people or positions, or if you've asked that question, you're not alone. That's what this podcast is about. That's kind of why I wanted to start this. There wasn't someone there to coach me along the way, to be like a mentor, like, hey man, this is kind of what you're missing, and let me help you through it all. And these are the couple things we can work on really easy to help you take the next step. I was alone. Because the truth is, at the end of the day, your friends, your coworkers, even your boss, like we're all just doing our best, right? And to try and help somebody else, you don't know if they want the help, you don't know if they need the help, you don't know if you're going to lose a friendship trying to help them. So it's hard. And you feel alone a lot. So that's kind of why I wanted to start Summit Talk, just this idea of hiking a mountain. Ironically, I got the idea for this while we were hiking a mountain in New York. It's called Whiteface Mountain. Or no, excuse me, it was Mount Marcy, actually, the tallest mountain in New York State. We were hiking this mountain, and it's funny, right? As we're hiking up, I'm hiking with some family members, and there's a few of us here, and some of us had prepared for this mountain. We trained, we'd exercised, we dieted, we researched the mountain beforehand, we prepared our equipment specifically just for this mountain with electrolytes and carbs and a good protein snack at the top. Nothing too crazy. You want it to sit just right in your stomach. But anyways, there's some of us that were super hyper prepared. There were some of us that were less than prepared. And it's funny because those of us that were prepared were almost sprinting up the mountain. I mean, we were passing everybody. We were setting records on the tallest mountain in New York State. And then the ones who weren't prepared, well, their heart rate was well above 170, probably above 180. They were seeing stars and on the brink of passing out. I mean, they were, it was rough. But it's funny because life is like that, isn't it? There's some of us who you know what you're getting into before you get to the summit, right? Some of us seem to be super equipped. Some people in your life seem really, really equipped to get that position, to achieve the success that you're craving. And you're wondering, how did he do that? How did they do that? How do you get there? What does that look like? How do I do that too? What does that look like for me? These are some of the questions that I'm hoping to answer, not just for myself, but for you. And the hope is that we can learn together, right? I'm far from perfect myself. I'm trying to learn more every day and try to close the gap between who I am and who I know God has called me to be. So there's work to be done. There's a lot of work to be done. But the hope in Summit Talk is that I can help coach the both of us into the person that God has made us to be. Because that person is real. That person exists. Nobody wakes up and they're born successful. That doesn't happen. Success doesn't really come without hard work. So success is coming through blood, sweat, and tears only. That's it. So as we go through this podcast, I'm going to have guests. We're going to have some friends on. We're going to have some people that I want to learn from and get to know better. We'll talk about different struggles, different opportunities that we can grow. And hopefully as we dive into these conversations, hopefully God allows us to have a fruitful discussion that I can learn from and you can learn from too. If you do find something beneficial from it, feel free to let me know, send me a message. And I'd love to hear from you, obviously, about it. But with Summit Talk, I also am trying to figure this out with you. These topics I'm ever struggling with. I've read a lot of these books and I've talked through and studied a lot of these topics that we're going to dive into, but it's hard. It's hard to understand, right? And there's a lot of people that are far smarter than me that probably understand it better than I do, but I want to learn. And if you're like me, maybe we can be friends. Growth is hard, man. Growth is hard. It's hard work. It's zone 2 stuff. It's not anything you have to do, right? You can coast by and just be like everybody else that just does the bare minimum. You just do what you absolutely need to. This podcast isn't for people like that. If you're listening to Summit Talk and if you're going to be an active listener and be a part of the group, we work hard. This is for the group that doesn't want to settle for less. This is for the group that wants to pursue more. If you're actually hungry about these questions and you're actually hungry about growth, you found the right place. We're going to dive into this. It's going to be good. You deserve to see who you could become. You deserve it. You've lived too long to live another day not being the person you were designed to be. So I want to challenge you this year. At the time of this recording, it is 2026 in January. I want to challenge you. Write down 3 things that you've been pushing off that you want to tackle, that you know you need to tackle, and that you should tackle. And if you think in 20 years, if you look back, if you didn't tackle these things, you'd be pretty frustrated or disappointed with yourself. Write those 3 things down today. Write them down. And then my challenge for you is put it on your calendar. Set a deadline to get them done. Give yourself 1 week at most to at least start all 3 of the things. 1 week. That's my challenge for you. 1 week. Start 3 things for this year. Make yourself proud of the person you're becoming and who God has made you into, right? You're not alone. I'm doing it myself, and I'm trying to grow with you. I'm grateful for you. Thank you for listening to the intro episode of Summit Talk. And again, I'll leave you with just one closing statement. You deserve to see who you can become.